Can you guess what mistake I'm making painting this door? If not, then this video is for you, because I'm going to show you the top 3 mistakes DIYers and even some professionals make when painting doors and how to avoid them. And no, it has nothing to do with buying better brushes or more expensive trim paint. Yo, what's cracking folks? Jeremy Vassar here, and I've been a professional painter for over 20 years and counting. All the mistakes that I'm going to go over in this video I have made myself. I've also experienced them quite a bit as I've worked with and trained other painters. Let's start by getting into mistake number 1, which is what I was doing at the beginning of this video, and it can slow you down big time. So this one's super common. I see it all the time, even amongst professionals, and that is when people overbrush the paint. So as they're laying down the paint on the door with a brush, they'll lay down a brush stroke and then they'll go do something else, and then they come back into the brush stroke they just did and keep working the brush back and forth. And again, I think they're trying to get the optimum coverage on that area, or they might be trying to get like little micro drips or things like that. But even though they'll start like dabbing in the corners and different things like that. And what happens when you do that is as you come back into that product, and some paints are really finicky with this, some are a little bit more lenient, but if you come back into the product, you'll start picking up drag with the brush, and you'll start drying out the product that you just laid down, and then you'll start seeing really choppy brush strokes. The paint even might start gumming up and pulling off of the surface that you painted it on, and then they try and add more paint to it, and then it just becomes a whole thing. It's actually something people ask me a lot in the comments, is how to avoid a brushy looking finish. And a great way to guarantee one is to overwork the product and keep coming back into it. Ideally, when you're painting a door, as you're laying down product, you want to come back into it the least amount possible. You just want to lay down an even coating, not so much that it's going to sag, like you're not trying to slop it on there, and you want to avoid drips and all of that, but you're not trying to like level it out like crazy, because what you want to do is lay down the product the appropriate amount, and then let the leveling agents in the product level out some of those brush strokes, and that's going to contribute to a more uniform looking finish. I think one of the reasons that a lot of people overwork product on a door is they're trying to lay down the absolute perfect coat the first time they're coating the door, and that's actually mistake number 2, is only doing 1 coat. So if you're painting a door and you know you're going to do 2 coats, that does a couple things for you. One, you're not going to be so OCD about laying down the first coat and getting that perfect. If things are a little bit off or you have some light spots, it's not a big deal because you know you're going to do a second coat. And really, the first coat of finish paint on a door, or really any surface, sets the stage for your final coat. Trim paints, particularly in satin or semi-gloss, go over top of themselves incredibly well. If you lay down a coat of semi-gloss, it dries, and then you do a second coat, the second coat is gonna go way faster, even if your skills haven't improved between the first coat and the second. You can move way quicker with the product. You're gonna use less product on your second coat because you're gonna get a better spread. And then it's just way easier to lay down a more uniform looking finish on the door when you do your second coat. The product tends to stay wet a bit longer because you don't have the surface below it pulling a lot of moisture out of it, because again, it's going over top a brand new coat of itself, which paint likes to do. And by the way, if you're painting your front door, we've got a full step-by-step course in our free online community called Paint Your Home Now. I will link to that in the description below. You can check that out if you are interested. So mistake number 3 is something people do to save time, but can actually ruin your finish, especially on doors. Mistake number 3 is using the wrong application method. And for the sake of this video, we're just talking about either brushing a door or rolling a door. We're not talking about spraying, because it's a whole other thing. I'm not getting into it. So a lot of folks are quite fond of using mini rollers, and they are great, but a lot of times they will use them for just about everything, and there are instances where a brushed finish is preferred. I'm gonna give you 2 scenarios and we'll just walk through it. So scenario 1, you've got a brand new 6-panel door with a grain pattern to it. In my opinion, those doors look the best brushed. And what you're gonna do with that scenario is you're gonna take your brush and follow the actual grain pattern on that door. If you've got horizontal pieces, you're gonna go horizontally. Once your trim paint levels out a bit, your brush strokes and everything follow that grain pattern. It just looks really nice. I think that's how you should do it. That's just my opinion. Now, if you have a flat panel door that has no grain pattern to it, I think those look better with a rolled finish. You want a pretty decent quality mini roller. There's a ton of different ones that work, but you kind of want a tighter nap roller cover so that you get the stipple patterns really tight. It looks more like a sprayed finish. That's really what you're going for on that. You don't want a really thick nap roller that gives you a big like orange peel look to it. I think that looks super gross, and I've seen that a lot on 6-panel doors and a variety of other ones. Now, scenario 2, this is something I run into all the time in the field, particularly when I'm painting front doors, because those doors get painted quite a bit. I will look and see what the previous finish was. So regardless of how I would have preferred to paint the front door or whatever door I'm painting, if it was previously brushed, I'll be like, all right, I'm just gonna brush it and I'm gonna lay down a brush finish and do my best. And then the same is true if the door has been rolled, even if I'm like, I would have preferred to brush this door, then I will go ahead and take a roller and I will do my best to lay down a really good looking rolled finish. One of the things that looks particularly gross is if you have if the door has been previously rolled and you have a heavy stipple pattern that's on the door, if you go over top of that and brush it, well, now you've got the stipple pattern showing through as well as your brush strokes, and that is not ideal. I would just default to however the door was previously finished. That has served me well throughout the years. So now you know some mistakes to avoid whilst painting your doors, but if you want to see how I actually paint trim like baseboards, you can check that video out right over here. And until next time, y'all take it easy, work smart, and have a good one. Peace.